Hi, everybody. Let's start today's session. We're going to start with ISRO and the latest launch that happened today morning. So ISRO stands for Indian Space Research Organization. Okay. Now this is an article from the from ndtv.com. Okay, and this tells us a few things. I'll just mark what is important. Okay, you must have all today in the morning at around 9 in the morning. I think we had news that the SSLV rocket was launched. What is SSLV? It is slightly different from the typical rockets that ISRO launches. PSLV and GSLV. You must have heard of these, right? So PSLV stands for Polar Satellite Launch Vehicle. The GSLV stands for Geosynchronous Satellite Launch Vehicle. Okay, the difference is this would orbit the Earth at a greater distance, and the Polar rocket is launched much closer to the Earth's orbit. Okay, so this is I'll give you some links that you can look up as a reference for what the distances are. Okay, that's the main difference between these two types of rockets. And all our Chandrayaan, Mangalyaan, all that is undertaken by the GSLV. Whereas the smaller communication satellites that need to be close to the Earth's atmosphere, that's all launched by the PSLV. That's another way you can remember it. Okay. So today we launched something called SSLV, right here, SSLV. I'm just going to, okay, one second. Okay. Yeah. So let's talk about today's satellite, right? The SSLV. It's nothing but a small satellite launch vehicle. Okay. And it was special because it had AzaadiSAT and a Earth observation satellite. Okay. So that was why it was important, because 75 years of independence, we had launched something called the AzaadiSAT. So you will read or hear more about it as the days go by, because it was a matter of pride that around 750, here's AzaadiSAT, they had 75 payloads built by 750 school students to mark the 75th anniversary of independence. So yes, it was a big deal. Now this student team of the 750 school kids is called Space Kids India. Okay, so this may or may not come for the exam, but it's a good to know information. Okay, so I hope you'll read more about this. The SSLV D1 was launched at Sriharikota. Okay, and another thing I wanted to bring your attention to was what happened was the rocket launched safely, right? It launched correctly, but the satellites have become non-usable, since it should have been a circular orbit and now it's gone into an elliptical one. That is the official news from ISRO today, where they've said that the satellites are no longer usable. Okay, they went into an elliptical orbit instead of the circular orbit. So we won't be able to use it. But of course, they are trying to look for a salvage operation to take place. Maybe, we'll see what the scientists will come up with. But this is science, right? You expect things to work the way you plan, and then there's always that 1% chance that something could go wrong. Here, the execution or the launch of the rocket was perfect, but how the satellites went into this kind of failure is something the scientists will learn and let us know. Okay, so another thing I just wanted to highlight was the size. Okay, when we say small satellite launch vehicle, how small, right? So it is 10 meters less than the PSLV, and it has a vehicle diameter of about so many meters, 2 meters, compared to PSLV, which has 2.8 meters. Okay, so the SSLV is 34 meters tall and 2 meters of the vehicle diameter. Okay, I can't say wide because remember, rockets are cylindrical, right? So the diameter is 2 meters and it is 34 meters tall. Okay. Uh, if you would like to know more information regarding the same, you can go to the ISRO website. Okay, and the here you'll have different missions, spacecraft, and then launchers. Under launchers, you will get a lot of information regarding each of them. Okay, so if when you have some time, you can go in detail and read more about each of them. All right. So let's do a passage regarding ISRO. Okay. So I'm going to start your timer. Let's do 5 minutes. Is 5 minutes? I think 5 minutes is good, right? It's a very small passage. Okay. All right. We'll start in a minute. So have your pen and paper handy. Okay. And let's begin now. Okay, that's time's up. 5 minutes. And how does it feel? I hope it's good. Yeah, 5 minutes seems like plenty of time now. Now that you've been, well, what I've been doing with all of you is helping you manage your time, correct? Or time management in other words, right? We're learning how to manage time. Okay, I'm going to close this. We don't need the timer anymore, right? So sometimes we will get a short passage like this. Okay. So from last class, I hope you remember, we did learn about techniques of reading the passage. So now what you can do is apply the same to go through the passage, right? So you will have something like ISRO, right? The first statement, the last statement, check what is being talked about, okay? And then look for specific information. They've told us GSLV delivers satellite to a higher elliptical orbit, okay? The transfer orbit as well as the Earth orbit. Okay, geosynchronous just means with the Earth. Okay, it's synchronizing with the planet. Okay, whatever the orbit is. So it's either to transfer or to put it in orbit. Now, from the passage, we probably aren't getting much information, right? So sometimes you must quickly look at the question. So you will see in this particular passage, they have asked us a lot of static questions. Okay, I'm just trying to delete this. Okay, we'll leave it at that. Okay, that line is irritating me. Okay, we'll leave it at that. Okay, so one of the things we need to keep in mind is something called launch of Chandrayaan-3 is coming up. Okay, so probably we will not find that in these questions. I did give you about 2 minutes to read this passage, but ideally 1 minute is sufficient to read the passage. Okay, it's hardly 5 sentences. Okay, now we have the first question here. The end note 1 is here. It indicates the first question. Who is the current chairman of ISRO, Indian Space Research Organization? A lot of us remember K. Sivan, right, from the last time, from the Mangalyaan, from the Chandrayaan launch, and he was in the news a lot, right? Kiran Kumar, Nandini Harinath are wrong if you've marked B or C. D is a former chairman. The current chairman is option A. He is also called S.P. Somanath. Okay, so you will see him in the news for the next couple of days because of SSLV launch, because of the upcoming Chandrayaan-3 and so on. Okay, so this is the current chairman. Keep a note of that, make a note of it. If you have got this wrong, just write down his name in your notes. ISRO chief or current chairman, Sridhara Panikkar Somanath. Next question, number 2. ISRO was formed to replace its predecessor. What does that mean? There was an organization or institute previous to ISRO in the space research area. ISRO was later on formed to replace that. Okay. So INCOSPAR, what was the acronym? Okay, it's called Indian National Committee for Space Research. And this was established in 1962. Okay. Now they're asking you, when was ISRO formed to replace its predecessor? And if this was established in 1962, as you can see, all the options are after 1962. So obviously ISRO will be after, later, right? So if you, this is called a factual question. In general knowledge, we have two types, right? There's factual questions and then there is interpretation. Now here, this is definitely a factual question. So is this. They're only asking us facts. So they're asking you when was ISRO formed? And the correct answer is 1969. Okay. Okay. Where was PSLV C-3053 launched for the 3 Singaporean satellites? From the passage, right? They have told us they launched it in a commercial mission, okay, and the commercial arm of ISRO is New Space India Limited. And then he tells us PSLV is designed mainly to deliver Earth observation or remote sensing satellites, whereas GSLV is for communication satellites. So here he tells us, he's asking us, where is PSLV launched from for these 3 satellites? Okay. Now, option A is wrong. Okay. Here, Abdul Kalam Island in Odisha, we have an ISRO unit there, but it's used for GSLV satellites. Just remember this. Okay. The Vikram Sarabhai Space Center is rarely used. Okay. C option is non-existent. It's a made-up thing. The correct answer is D, Satish Dhawan Space Center at Sriharikota. Okay, that is in Andhra Pradesh. Is everyone clear? Okay, option D. Next question, number 4. Who is considered the founding father of the Indian space program? Right, there's been a couple of commercial movies of late. We have seen Rocketry. There's been Rocket Boys. I think it's a web series, and then there was one more with Akshay Kumar in it. I forget the name, but a lot of these movies have focused on the founding father of the Indian space program. Okay, and the right answer is Vikram A. Sarabhai. Now here you must, I mean, if you, even if you don't remember it, this question, right, the previous question, when they said it was established by the Prime Minister of that era, which was PM Nehru, and the scientist Vikram Sarabhai. So they've kind of given us a clue there. So if you're clever and you can catch that clue, good enough. Otherwise, this is simply a factual question. You must read up on this and remember it. Okay. All the other options are wrong. Last question, question number 5. This is a very, very easy question. Aryabhatta was the first Indian satellite that we developed indigenously by ISRO, but it was launched with the help of one of these. Okay. So, of course, if it's been launched, we know that one of them helped us. Okay. And the right answer is option A. Roscosmos, Soviet Union. Roscosmos has been in the news lately because they have said they will leave the International Space Station, ISS, International Space Station, by 2024 and set up their own space station. Okay, because they have some plans of setting up an independent space station. Okay, and they don't want to be part of ISS. All right. So we come to the end of this session. Okay. Thank you, everybody. Have a good evening.